So I want to welcome you to this is actually our second Zoom cooking class. We've done many cooking classes here in the Brighton area over the past years, but this is the second one we've done on Zoom. But we had a fun time back in November and we're ready to do some more cooking tonight. And glad that some of you were able to come back and some of you are brand new. So because some of you are brand new, I just want to give a little introduction here. My name is Stacy Shefka, and I live here in Brighton. This group that I'm working with is the New Beginnings Health Team. We're a ministry of the Brighton Seventh Adventist Church that's located here at 228 South 4th Street, pretty close to the high school. And I've got a group of awesome ladies that work with me, and we do these health classes, cooking classes, and other health presentations. So I want to introduce my team to you so you can get to know them. I'll start with Kim Ahern. I see her first. So Kim, just speak, say something so everyone can see you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
All right. And Kim is going to be speaking a little bit later, so you'll get to hear her again. And then I've got Janet Harrison, and I think Janet is in Florida actually at the moment. Are you still in Florida, Janet?
Yes, I am. Okay. I soaked up some sun today.
Got her short sleeve shirt on just to prove it. So welcome, Janet. And then we have Sue. Sue is going to be doing one of our recipes, as you can guess. Looks awesome over there at Sue's house.
Oh, thank you. Citrus is my favorite.
Citrus is her thing. All right. And then I also have Mary Lou. And Mary Lou, you want to say
hello,
hi?
Everyone. Glad you're here.
Hello.
These are the ladies that have been helping me out. And just so that you know kind of what we do here, we're doing something once a month. So every Thursday, the second Thursday of the month, we are doing some health event. So every other month it is a cooking class, and our next one will be in March. And then the months in between, we have a Health Connection meetup, which is more of like a health presentation with some practical tips. We did one on dealing with the holidays in our last one, which was in December. But our next one coming up in February is very connected to the one we are doing tonight. So this is basically part one. You have to come back in February for part two. So let me just show you quickly what we're going to be doing in February. And let me see, can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Good.
Are you seeing it says home remedies for immune health? Is that coming up?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so this is our February event. February 11th, just before Valentine's, 7:00 p.m. That's on a Thursday night. We are dealing with the topic again of immune health. Tonight, we're really focusing on recipes that deal with immune boosting foods, but there is a lot of information about immune health that you just can't pack into a cooking class. So that's why we're doing a whole night dedicated to this. We're going to be talking some more about foods there and some of the properties in foods that really help with immunity. But we're going to go even beyond that to more of an understanding of how your immune system works and some of the simple things you can do from home. So if I just scroll down here, you'll see that we're going to be covering things like winter wellness, some of the vitamins and herbs that are good for immune boosting, some of the other natural remedies like exercise and sleep and fresh air and other things that will help you have a better immune system. And then some simple treatments for when you get sick. Sometimes you can't prevent getting sick, but when you do, there are some simple things that you can do from home that would really help keep your immune system up. So that's what's coming up, and I am excited because I'm going to be sharing at that class a recipe that I'm not sharing tonight, so you'll have to wait for that one, but it is I call it Nature's Flu Shot, and it's got citrus and garlic, all kinds of really good stuff in it, and it is amazing, and my husband and I just pretty much lived on this stuff for the month of the end of December when we both were sick. And it helped us get well a lot faster. So I'm excited about that recipe, but that one's going to have to wait till February. So that's coming up, and you can register for that class same way you registered for this one. Just contact us at NB Health Team, and we will nbhealthteam@gmail.com, and we will register you for that class as well. So that's going to be a really awesome one. Now, our next one, cooking one, like I said, will be in March. I don't know what the topic is going to be yet. If you've got some great ideas for some upcoming topics and recipes, send me an email. Let me know what you would like, or put a comment in the chat if you've got some good suggestions. So in all of our classes, we as a team really focus on holistic health. It's not just about physical health, or in this case, we're talking about immunity, but we believe that we need to focus on mind, body, and spirit. And that's how God created us. We are Christians who believe that God cares about us as a holistic person, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. And he wants our well-being in all those areas, and to experience the abundant life that he came to give us. So we always focus on those things too, because we think that's really important for everyone to experience the best health possible. A couple other quick announcements I'll mention. One is we have a Facebook page, and I want to encourage you to check us out. We look like this. You go to Facebook, look up New Beginnings Health Team of Brighton, and like our page. Then you will see when we post recipes or about our upcoming events and videos and all those sorts of things. You can catch some things we've done in the past too. So check that out. And then we also have a YouTube channel. Just search for New Beginnings Health Team, and we will post videos of some of the classes that we do. So if you miss a class, or you really enjoy the class and you're like, oh, I wish so-and-so had been there, you can send them a link to it, and that's where you will find them. So make sure you like, subscribe, all those good things that they talk about so you get notified. Okay.
What is the Facebook? I'm sorry. What is the Facebook name? I couldn't find it really.
It's New Beginnings Health Team.
Thank you.
New Beginnings Health Team. Yep. Thank you for asking. We also periodically send out some free little gifts. So if we have your mailing address, we can do that. We have a cookbook we sent out for free in December. Some of you got that right away. Some of you will be getting it this coming week, because we had a delay in the shipment of those, thanks to the UPS, the Postal Service. But we do like to send out some little free gifts from time to time. So if you give us your mailing address, we can get those to you. So tonight our topic is immune health. And I think that this past year, more than ever, we all realize just how important it has been to keep our immune system up. You know, the whole COVID thing, I think, brought that to our attention more than maybe we had thought about before, and the importance of that. And a good immune system can help us fight off disease. And a weak immune system can make us very susceptible to illness and could even determine if we're going to survive it. So it's very important that we keep our immune system up. And as I was thinking about the immune system and how important it is, and just kind of thinking of it more holistically, like emotionally, spiritually, mentally, I thought that God has given each of us something to help protect our hearts and minds as well. Just like our immune system is helping to protect us physically, God has given us something to help protect us emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and all areas of our life. So I've asked Kim, my friend Kim, who's here on my team, to just share for a couple minutes, just a short little devotional thought with us about that protection system that God has set up for us, that is kind of like our immune system. So Kim, take it away. And you are muted, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. I was going to be so prepared and right on the top, right on the ball. Okay, well, yeah. So immune boosting spiritual food is really the title of this devotional. And you may be wondering, what does immunity have to do with the Bible? Well, I believe it has much to do with the Bible. So let me explain. So just as we eat immune boosting foods as our defense against physical disease, so we are to ingest Bible, the promises of the Word of God to protect us from discouragement, hopelessness, fear, and anxiety, and emotions like that. So as an example, Jeremiah 15:16, it says, "Your words were found, and I ate them. And your word was to me the joy and rejoicing of my heart. For I am called by your name, O Lord God of hosts." So what was the result of Jeremiah eating God's word? He experienced joy and rejoicing in his heart. So to eat God's word simply means to meditate on what it means. Really to think about it and how it applies to you and your circumstances. Proverbs 17:22 is another example. A happy heart is like good medicine, but a broken spirit drains your strength. Have you ever felt that? It just, a broken heart just draining your strength. And I think some versions say dry up your bones. Well, God would have us to be happy. That doesn't mean when we are sad there is anything wrong with us. It just means that God is calling you to himself, or his word, to be encouraged and strengthened. There's something about knowing someone cares and is there for you always, even when you're alone or you're not alone with God as your friend. Psalm 119, 103 and 104. How sweet are your words to my taste, sweeter than honey to my mouth. Your precepts, through your precepts, I get understanding. Have you ever been discouraged? Perhaps today you're experiencing fear or anxiety. Here are a few of my favorite promises in God's word that protect me against those feelings. And my hope is that they will be a protection to your heart as well. Psalm 27:14. That entire Psalm 27 is a very precious psalm to me. I have personal experience with that when God spoke to me several years ago in a situation. But the last verse is, "Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord." Another one that I absolutely love is Revelation 21:3 and 4, the first part of 4. And it says, "And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. For the former things are passed away." And he that sat upon the throne said, "Behold, I make all things new." What a day that will be. And one last one, Isaiah 26:3 and 4, very precious to me. It says, "You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for God, the Lord, is everlasting strength." So won't you put your trust in God and his promises today? It is your best form of protection. So if you wouldn't mind, you're welcome to bow your head with me if I say a short prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this immunity of your word, Lord, that your word, as we eat it, as we ingest it, as we meditate on your word, Lord, it can transform our hearts from sorrow, from anxiety, from loneliness, Lord, and it can transform our hearts into joy and excitement and hopefulness. Lord, we thank you for your word. We thank you that you have given us this spiritual protection as well. Bless this time. Bless Stacy, Lord, as she presents, and Sue. And Lord, and bless everyone who is on this Zoom call in this cooking school, Lord, that you would boost our spiritual immunity as we also use your foods that you've given us to boost our physical immunity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks so much, Kim, for sharing with us. I think it's very true that we need to be protected in more ways than just physically. Our heart, our emotions can get easily damaged too. And God's promises can really be a form of protection around us. So Kim sent out in our email a list of some of her favorite promises, and you can print those off if you like and read those and let them help protect your heart and mind. And one last thing I will share before we get into our actual cooking is one other thing that we have just decided to start doing and offering to you as well. And I'm just going to share my screen here real quick so I can show that to you. Okay, it is on the 4th week of the month. So we do our cooking classes and our health classes on the 2nd Thursday. This is on the 4th Thursday at 7:30. And it's just going to be a little fellowship meetup that is a little bit more spiritually focused, looking at some of the biblical health principles, because we think the Bible talks a lot about health. And we want this to be kind of an informal meetup where we can look at a health principle from the Bible, get to know each other, support each other in our personal health journeys, whether that's you're trying to eat better, or maybe you're trying to exercise more, or maybe you're just trying to overcome some depression in your life. Whatever you're at in your journey, we want to be able to support you and find encouragement. So just a little fellowship time that we can kind of connect with God, each other, and learn more about health. So if that sounds of interest to you, all you have to do is show up and we'll send this out so you have this Zoom meeting ID. You don't even have to RSVP. It's just something that we want to do once a month to connect with you even a little bit more. So hopefully you can come and join us for that. Our next one, of course, would be in 2 weeks. So at this time, we are going to start cooking. We have sent you a lot of handouts. You got one called Immune Health. So you want to download that one. You can read that at another time. And you should have received a shopping list, an ingredient list, and then you have 3 recipes we're covering. So the 3 recipes we're going to do tonight, in the order we're doing them, is the chocolate pudding, and then we're going to do the smoothie, and after that we're going to do the soup. Okay, so let's get started here. So coming to this one about the pudding, the chocolate pudding. When we talk about immune foods, there is a lot, there's so much stuff we could discuss about immune boosting foods. And I was just doing some reading and stuff about that. And man, there's just so many things. One of the things that we look for when we're looking for immune boosting foods is things that are high in antioxidants. And does anybody have an idea or could tell me what an antioxidant is, just very quick? That's a term we kind of throw out there, but do you know what the word means? You can unmute yourself and answer that question if you like.
It helps your body dispense of the toxins in it.
Okay, that's a good way of looking at it. Okay, so have you ever heard the term free radicals? So free radicals or oxidative stress, those are terms that are sometimes connected with the word antioxidant. They're things that break down the body and end up leading to inflammation and a lot of diseases. Yeah, Michael says it's bad elements in the body. Well, that's a good way to put it, a very layman's way of putting it. But antioxidants are what protect your cells from this oxidative stress. And you mostly find them in fruits, vegetables, spices, and the things that are grown in the ground, plant-based foods. So antioxidants are super important. And the foods that we're going to be demoing tonight have a lot of antioxidants, and some of them have a lot, and I will mention which ones those are. Now, one of the things that is like the opposite when it comes to your immune health that can deplete it really fast is sugar. And you all went, oh, right? Because who doesn't like sugar? It tastes so good. But the problem with sugar is that and this is what the researchers have found, is that it takes your white blood cells, which are your killer cells. They're the ones that go find the viruses and the bacteria and eat them up. It takes these white blood cells and it kind of puts them to sleep, like incapacitates them, kind of puts them into a coma. So they're not able to do what they're supposed to do. Now, here's the interesting thing. One study I read, this one came out in 1973, so this is an old study, but it was in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, November 1973, found that after you eat sugar for 5 hours, your white blood cells are incapacitated. So if you're eating sugar throughout the day, let's say some sugar cereal, and then you had a candy bar for a snack, and then you had a soda in the afternoon, and then you had a piece of dessert in the evening, and you've had sugar pretty much throughout the day, you are basically living in a immune suppressed state, which is why then it's very easy to catch that cold or that flu or COVID that's you get exposed to. So this is why sugar is one of those things that we really need to like eat very sparingly and try to avoid as much as possible. So the recipe we're doing is a sugar-free pudding, because we all still like desserts and we all still want to have something sweet, but we don't want to necessarily have the white sugar, okay? So let's talk about this sugar-free chia pudding. So let's look at the ingredients first. The first one I want to talk about is the sugar part. Now, there are 2 types of sugar you can use in this recipe. The one I am going to be demoing with, and the one that I like for this one best, is stevia drops. Now, stevia is a plant that comes from South America, and it's very sweet. In fact, they say it's like 100 times sweeter than sugar. Like basically it's like 1 to 100 in the amounts that you need. Very little goes a long way. Now, the cool thing about stevia, and I have, here is like a package form of it. Here is the bottled form of it. The brand I like a lot is called Sweet Leaf. And Sweet Leaf it doesn't have a bitter aftertaste like some stevias have. You may have tried stevia before and you're like, oh, I didn't really like that taste. This one has a really good taste. Now, this is in the packet form. This is in a droplet form. Now, one of the things I like about stevia is if you are trying to lose weight, there are 0 calories. If you are diabetic, it's 0 on the glycemic index. So it does not affect your blood sugar levels. And that's a really good thing if you're diabetic or pre-diabetic. So those are 2 really good benefits of using stevia as a sweetener. Now, the other sweetener you can use in this recipe is maple syrup. So I want to know how many of you are using maple syrup today, and how, so let me see your hands if you're going to use maple syrup in this recipe. Anybody? Okay, a few, you're like, I don't know about stevia. And this is not something you can necessarily find at Meijer. You'd have to find it at a health food store or Amazon or something like that. So if you're going to use the maple syrup, there are some benefits of the maple syrup too. You think, well, isn't that kind of like a sugar too? But there's some really cool things about maple syrup when it comes to immune boosting, which I did not know until today when I was looking this up. Maple syrup is loaded with antioxidants. So these are those things that protect our cells. It's got lots of vitamins and minerals. It's really high manganese, which is a good one. And it fights off those damaging free radicals. Now, 2 professors from the University of Rhode Island were doing some studies on maple syrup and found that it contains polyphenols, which is a type of an antioxidant that has a lot of anti-inflammatory properties. So that can help you to avoid conditions like heart disease and osteoporosis and diabetes and all of that. And it has a lot of zinc in it. And we know zinc is one of those minerals that's really good for your immune system. So guess what? Eat the maple syrup. And I love maple syrup. It's really good. So you can use maple syrup or you can use the stevia drops. Now, one thing I will mention about the maple syrup, if you're going to go that route, is because it is a liquid, I would recommend we cut down on either cut down a little bit on the soy milk or the milk you're using, or just add some more chia seeds, which is probably the better option, just because you're adding more liquid into the recipe than you would if you were using the drops. Okay, so let's start with getting our equipment. There's 2 ways you can do this. Sometimes I do it in a jar. I'll just get a bit, it'll make this much, which is a lot. So if you're a single person, you're like, wow, that's a lot of pudding. Cut the recipe in half. It will make this much, just like a pint jar, okay? So if you're just by yourself, you might want to cut this recipe in half, but this would make enough for like a family or for multiple days. You could eat it. So you can do it in a jar. You can mix it in a jar. The other option is you can mix it in a container that has a lid, because it makes it easier to, it's going to be liquidy. Okay. So this will keep it from getting everywhere, and you can mix it easier. So I'm going to mix in this. So let me move this down, or maybe I should move this one over. Okay, I've got 2 cameras going here, so this one might, oh, let me get the other video going. All right, so Stacy and Stacy are the 2 Stacys on here. So this one is focused more on front of me, and then this one will be up more on my face. Okay, so I'm going to put in here, the first thing is this cacao powder, okay? Now, you may ask, what's the difference between cacao powder and cocoa powder? It really comes all from the same cocoa bean. The difference is that cacao powder is unprocessed. It's just the raw bean ground, okay? It hasn't been processed at all. Whereas cocoa powder has been processed some. They alkalinize it, take some of the acidity out of it, and let me see what else I wrote down here. It's been roasted, so it's slightly less pure than the original. So if you don't have cacao powder, you could use cocoa powder, but this is going to be a little bit healthier. This is considered a superfood. So you're like, oh, that's wonderful because I love chocolate. So here's the thing. Dark chocolate or cacao powder, which is what it comes from, is actually really good for your immune system. This is one of the highest antioxidants out there, okay? When you look, they have this rating called the ORC level, which is how much antioxidants is in a food. And dark chocolate, cacao powder is way up there toward the top, you know? So this is a very good one with lots of those anti-inflammatory ingredients. In fact, one study I read said that this dark chocolate has more antioxidants than blueberries and acai berries, which we all know are really good with antioxidants. So we're gonna double this up by making chocolate and putting berries on top. So we'll get double the benefit. Okay, so what we're gonna do is put in here a 1/3 cup. I'm making a whole batch because my husband loves this stuff, and we will eat it all. When I was telling him all the benefits of dark chocolate today, he's like, you just keep reading, you just keep studying that. So he wanted to make sure that I was going to keep making this. So I'm going to use this whisk here to just get some of the glumps out, because mine has a lot of glumps in it. So if you don't have a whisk, you could just put it in a cup and just use a fork or a spoon or something to kind of break up all those clumps, because mine is really clumpy. We're breaking up all of our clumps here, and I'm putting it in my dish. And then we're gonna add our milk and our sweetener to this, but we're only gonna put in a little bit of milk at the beginning, just so that we can kind of create a paste. Okay, someone says
Stacey,
they
do you
can't
want?
see what I'm doing. So yeah,
Stacey, do you want us?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Do you want us to see your hands and what you're doing? Because your other computer isn't showing it.
It is showing it, but it's not. Maybe what I should do right now is make this one.
It's like you either get your face or your hands.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, let me do this. Let me,
While Stacy's doing that, I'd like to offer just a little fun thing about maple syrup. We used to make maple syrup ourselves. We used to tap our trees. And the neat thing is that the roots bring the water, the maple water, from deep, deep down into the earth. And they draw it up. And so you're getting all these rich minerals, micro minerals and things from the earth. And all you do is you boil off the water. And so you're keeping all of these rich nutrients and minerals. And so it's a wonderful, that's why it's so good for you.
very true. And it tastes good too. Okay, so I have two computers going here. So one of them is also angled down, but I'll angle this one down for right now, just so in case that's the one you're looking at, you can see. Okay, so I put a cup of my milk in here. I had just an vanilla unsweetened almond milk. And I'm just going to whisk up all this powdery stuff into this liquid. Now, if you were doing this in the jar, you could just put the lid on and shake it vigorously, which might be easier. I guess I could probably do that now, but I'm just going to do this whisk instead, just to get all this powder mixed into this little bit of milk in here. And then once this is all incorporated, it'll be easier to add the rest of the milk. I guess you could put this in a little blender or something too if you wanted. Now that actually brings me to another point I want to mention here. There are two different ways you can do this pudding, depending on the texture that you like. So if you've ever had chia pudding before, you know that it's kind of a little bit like a tapioca pudding in a way. It's got some of that texture from the seeds once they swell up. And if you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit more smooth of a pudding, you could blend this whole thing first. That might give you more of a smoother pudding. But here you can see, can you see that, guys?
Yes.
It's all mixed in now. So now what I'm going to do is add my sweetener. Now, if you're doing the maple syrup, I think I put on there, and you can do 1/4 to 1/2 cup. I'd probably do somewhere between 1/4 and 1/3 cup. I don't really like things super sweet, but that's me. So this recipe is sweet, but it's not like real sweet, okay? And you can adjust the amount of sweetener you want. Now, when it comes to the sweet drops, I'm actually using the chocolate flavor. They also come with just a plain flavor, which you could use too. But hey, the chocolate is really cool. And they also have lots of other flavors, like there's berry and English toffee and cream vanilla and root beer and all kinds of really cool sweet drop flavors. So that makes for some really fun sodas and stuff you can make and other desserts. There's a raspberry, the chocolate raspberry one too. I want to get that one. So I'm just going to take my sweet drops and use my 1/2 teaspoon here.
Did you only add the 1 cup of milk so far?
Only 1 cup so far, yes. Now I'm putting this drops in here. Now this doesn't look like very much. It's only 1/2 teaspoon, but as I understand it, like a teaspoon of stevia drops would be like a cup of sugar. Okay, that's that 1 to 100 ratio I was telling you about. Okay, so now I've just mixed in all those drops here into my pudding, and now I've got to add my chia seeds. So here's my organic chia seeds, and they are just kind of like oh yeah, go ahead.
So did you add all of the chocolate stevia, the teaspoon?
I did. Yeah,
Okay.
it was half
No,
teaspoon.
half teaspoon.
Yeah,
half
half
teaspoon.
teaspoon. Yeah, I put all that in. And now I'm
Thank
going
you.
to add the chia seeds. In this recipe, I put 2/3 of a cup. Now, if you're doing the maple syrup, I would probably do closer toward a cup, or maybe just a little shy of a cup, because you're going to be adding a lot more liquid and you don't want to have runny pudding. Okay.
Stacy, are those chia seeds whole or ground?
These are whole. Okay. I guess you can get ground ones too. I didn't think about that. If you got
Or you could
ground,
ground them up yourself.
oh yeah, you could grind them yourself, which is what would happen if you took this recipe and blended it. Then it would
Okay.
be making more of a smoother pudding. But I don't mind the texture of the chia pudding, the chia seeds. Okay, so can you see this mixing up here? We're just mixing all of these chia seeds in. And these things will swell up like really big. Now, this is not a recipe that you're going to be able to eat in an hour or so. This is going to take about 6 hours or so. I do it overnight and then just eat it the next day. And this can make a nice breakfast or a dessert. There's so many different things. If you want to look up chia puddings, there are so many different recipe variations out there. You can really have a lot of fun with it. You can put oats in it, and sometimes people make like an overnight oats with it. Okay, so that is all mixed in now. Now all I have to do is just add the next 2 cups of milk. So I'm gonna add those in now. Trying to see who else is cooking along with me. Any other cooks out there? Busy? Laura Best's family, are you guys cooking? Or are you just watching?
I made the chia pudding earlier because my sister really wanted to try it. So
Oh, cool. So you guys can give us the taste of what it tastes like. Okay, that's a perspective not everyone's going to be able to give us.
we
Perfect.
tried the blended version.
Okay, so my chia pudding is done. Okay, it's all in here. I can even mix it up and stir it up a little bit. And then this is going in the fridge and I will see it tomorrow. Okay, now. Just because I want you guys to see what it looks like done. Here is the finished product. Can you see that?
Mhm.
Okay, it looks like pudding, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now you can see maybe a little bit up close. It kind of looks a little bit like tapioca pudding, okay? But it's nice, and it's got a little bit of that texture, kind of like tapioca pudding, because this is whole chia. I didn't do anything to it. But then you can serve it. Show you here an example. Like we were learning that berries are really high also in antioxidants. So why not serve your chia pudding with some fresh berries? Doesn't that look yummy? Pomegranates and some raspberries on there. And I think I'll set this one aside for my husband. He will want that. But if you're going on a trip or something, or you're taking something to work, you can mix up your chia pudding and take it with you, and you can have a dessert to travel with. It's so, so easy and really tasty. So any questions about this recipe? Any of you who are working on it right now? Laura Beth, you said you made this. Did you taste it? Do you guys have a report you could give us as to what you think of it? She's going to get it out of the fridge, I think. Anyone have any questions on this chia pudding recipe?
Stacy, do you have to, Stacy,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you have to go back to it like maybe in 10 minutes and stir it up? Because my experience with it in the past is that when I make it, as the chia seeds start coagulating, you have to stir it a few times through the process.
It's best to do that, maybe to go back once. And when we're getting toward the end of this class period, or when this class period ends, you could go in and mix it up a little bit. I forgot to do that last night with the one I did in the little jar, this one, and it turned out just fine. So
Okay.
if you don't get that done, it doesn't hurt too badly. I think the important thing is to make sure your cocoa powder is mixed well with your milk first, because you don't want to have clumps of the dry ingredients that didn't get mixed in well with milk. So
I've just had the seeds
Yeah,
settle
kind of
to the
just
bottom a little bit, and so
it does
keep
help
that
to mix it up.
consistency.
Even if you just take it, and if you have one of those little jar lids on it, you can just shake it, and it kind of accomplish the same thing.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. All right, Laura Beth, did you say you got your chia pudding? Oh, I think they're tasting it. I see some thumbs up. Brooke, tell us
awesome.
what it like. You like it?
Yeah.
All righty. Oh, even the boy's got his hand up. He thinks it's pretty good. Well, if kids will eat it, then that's a good sign for the rest of you guys. So this is a really easy recipe. And here's another thing. Chia seeds are high fiber. They got a lot of protein in them. So if you're looking for something that's even like a good breakfast on the road, this is a great one, because you got your protein, you got your antioxidants, you got your fiber, and you just can't go wrong with that. And you put the berries on top, and you got a great dish. Okay, I'm going to move now to Sue, and Sue is going to be demoing for us our citrus blast smoothie. So get your ingredients out for that one, and Sue, take it away.
Okay. Is everyone ready? You're just going to sidestep to a different part of your counter? All right. Different blenders take the ingredients in different ways. Normally when you do a recipe, you kind of just start at the beginning one and start putting them in. My blender, I will start with the coconut water. I have 3 different brands here: Vita Coco, C2O coconut water, and Harvest Bay coconut water. Now, any one of these you can get at any of your local grocery stores: Bush's, Meijer's, Kroger, Better Health. They all nowadays have these on their shelves. And I think one of the reasons is because I lost my thing here. A lot of people are now using this as a sports drink. A natural, healthy sports drink that is a great hydrator and has a lot of antioxidants in it. So the one that I like the best myself here, I'm going to put that right in the blender, and it is the CO2 coconut water. I did the recipe on Sunday, so I know with the ingredients that I used, I put the top in the hole. For me, it took about 10 ounces instead of the 8 to have the consistency that I like. So I'm going to put that into my blender first. Besides being a natural sports drink, coconut water is low in calories. It is high in potassium. It has 10 times the amount of potassium of most sports drinks, and more than a banana. And we know a banana has a lot. It says at 405 milligrams per cup, the potassium in coconut water can help you ward off cramps. It helps keep your fluids and electrolyte balance in the body, especially during exercise. There is calcium and magnesium. And then again, the antioxidants, in addition to the hydrating benefits, help neutralize oxidative stress and free radicals, which Stacy had talked about. It's also full of amino acids: alanine, arginine, cysteine, serine, and it's a major source of arginine, which is an amino acid that helps the body respond to stress. Another one on stress has cytokinins, which are anti-aging and ward off cancer. Okay, so my next ingredient that I'm going to put in here, I always put my liquids in first in my blender. I know with a NutriBullet, it's backwards. You put your dry ingredients and then your liquid ingredients last. So, got my lemon here. I normally take my citrus and roll it on my cutting board to break the membranes, and you'll get more juice out of it. I don't know why. It's the same amount of juice in the lemon, but that's kind of the way I was taught. You get more if you roll it. I have here, I do have, an automatic electric one, but most of the time I don't really feel like messing with it. I just do with this, the old fashioned juicing. So we're going to do 1 whole organic lemon. We'll be adding, and I try to squeeze real hard to get the pulp. I want those pulp pieces that are in there. I don't want to waste it. Okay, and we'll get the second. I didn't look up any information on lemon. I got every other fruit here, but I did not look up my information.
It's high in
Besides
vitamin.
lemon. High in what?
It's high in vitamin C.
You're right. High in vitamin C. That's true. I got to get a spoon.
It's alkalizing and cleansing to the body.
Yes, that's true.
Right. It is great for cleansing. And then I'm just going to pick my seeds out of here and put them on the board. I don't want to put my seeds in there. Antioxidants, and 1 mini banana also boost 9% of potassium, 33% B6, 11% vitamin C, 8% magnesium, 10% copper, 14% manganese. The net carbs are 24 grams. I know a lot of people these days are worried about carbs, but these are not the bad carbs. 3 grams of fiber, 1 gram of protein, and 0 grams of fat. And there are bananas are different with their ripening. They have different levels of your vitamins and minerals. And some people like all their things green. They can only eat it that way. Some like them with a little spots, and some like them just all full of spots. And they just change. Okay. All right. Oranges. Like I said when we first started, when I was introduced, citrus, oranges are just my favorite. So I have 4 different types of oranges here. There's the juicing orange. It has a thinner skin on it. We have the navel orange, the cara cara that has pink, and the blood oranges that are red. Our oranges, they have 93% vitamin C, a low glycemic index. My favorite oranges are the Valencia oranges. I like the smaller oranges, which you get a lot of juice out of. But the one that has the highest amount of the vitamin C I found was the navel orange. I always thought they were a little sour. And the redder oranges have better benefits for your heart. So today I am going to use the juicing oranges in the recipe. And again, I'm going to break the membranes on them. And because it has such a thin skin on it, I am going to take it off with a knife and try to leave the pith on there. It's got phytonutrients, vitamin C, you have immune support, antioxidant protection. A glass of orange juice has more protective than vitamin C alone. All right. So I don't know if anyone is doing the recipe with me, and take a little bit to cut 3 oranges. Pull out their seeds. How many people normally have smoothies in the morning, or at least once or twice a week?
I do every morning. It's like a greens. I do a green smoothie with all my
You do a
vitamins.
green smoothie? Do you change up what you use in your smoothie each time you have one, or?
No, I should, but no, lately I do the same thing. But right now I'm, doing vitamins that I need for this time of year.
Okay, yes, right, exactly. I switch my stuff up too, so that I don't get myself in a rut. I happen to like all the berries, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. And so I try to mix up each time I open something, then I buy something different the next time around. All right, we're gonna do this a little differently this time. It seems to be taking long.
And that's a nice thing
Well,
about
I'm
it.
Go ahead. I had a smoothie this morning. I made it for my mother and I used honeydew melon, an apple, ice, and lime zest, and it was delicious.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Oh, really good.
And then especially down there being in Florida, you have a lot of fresh citrus.
Yes.
That's right. A lot of citrus here. Make sure too that you are taking out your seeds. You don't want to have the seeds in there.
And the seeds will make it kind of bitter.
Make it what?
Bitter.
Thinner?
Bitter.
Oh, bitter. Yes, bitter. The seeds are right. They will make it have a little bitter taste to it. I can't touch my iPad for my information here. My hands are all dirty. After our oranges are peeled and in,
One of the things that I do is for a little vitamin C boost, I will add some of the peel, either the lemon or the orange, right to the smoothie, because there's actually more vitamin C, more nutrients in the peel than there is in the juice itself.
right, that's true.
Does that make it bitter, Kim?
No, I do dates, the medjool dates, and maybe some stevia leaf. I grow my own stevia, so I have the leaf to plop in there. And so, no, it doesn't.
You want to make sure you're using organic citrus if you're going to put the peel in.
Only if it's organic citrus will I use this. And I save it too. I put in the freezer so I can plop in, some of that. Or I dehydrate it and powder it and make the powder and make lemon zest and orange zest. So.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it says compounds in the orange peel may lower cholesterol as effectively as statin drugs.
Wow.
It's one of the things that are in there. Sometimes I put it in there too. And that is one thing. You can't always find some of these oranges inorganic. It's very hard to find blood orange or cara organic, which is unfortunate. You can find your juicing oranges, which were the ones that I found that were organic, your navels and your Valencias. I haven't even been able to find Valencias in about a year. I don't know what happened to where they're coming from. Unless they had a bad crop or something. It says also oranges possible have a prevention of kidney stones, helps with respiratory health, protection against rheumatoid arthritis. Okay, our next ingredient and our last ingredient is a frozen cup of mango. All right, so mangoes again are another one that are packed with nutrients. Everything here that Stacy has in this recipe is definitely an immune blasting smoothie. Citrus blasting smoothie, immune smoothie. Another one's high in antioxidants, boosts immunity, supports heart health, improves digestive health. And a lot of these things, especially like when you're keeping your pulp, when you're using whole orange, you already have your pulp, is the fiber. Fiber is so important. This says it supports your eye health, hair and skin, and lowers certain risk of cancer. Okay, so then we're gonna put 1 cup of mango in here. I usually don't measure, I usually dump things, but I stuck to the recipe this time around. Okay, I'm gonna put that in. And then I don't know if anyone wants to mute themselves while we run these, but that is it. All 5 ingredients are in there. Okay, we'll start. Mine has a smoothie button, so it's timed for 45 seconds. Okay, and then usually when you're using frozen fruit, sometimes you have to kind of pulse it at the end just to make sure you're not getting lumps. So we're just gonna see if I hear it. Nope, pretty good. When I made the recipe on Sunday, I ended up with 2 16 ounces. I had to drink because I don't think they freeze well. So you can have that for just a smoothie for your breakfast, or if you have more in your family, then 4 people. It'll make enough for 4 people. All right. Does anyone have any questions?
This recipe is so good. It really, really is good. It's a great way to get a ton of citrus down and so refreshing.
Dinner.
Dinner, there you go. Thank you. I hope you guys all try this one. This one's a really awesome recipe and it's a great way to keep your immune system boosted this winter.
Hey, Sue,
Yeah.
why don't you take one of those cups and maybe do, if you have ice cubes trays,
Oh,
put them in
yeah,
there and
okay,
see
yeah.
how they freeze and let us know next month or the next time we get together how it came out.
that's a good idea.
Just
I'm sure
give
it
it a
probably would be
try.
fine, and then you could just
Especially
take those
if-
and use them.
Yeah, especially if you're gonna freeze it or you're gonna blend it again when it comes out of the freezer, it may be okay.
Right. It just wouldn't
Just a
freeze like
thought.
the way I have it here. That's a good idea. A very good idea.
It might even, you could
How long can we keep
and
this?
make it kind of like a orange sorbet, kind of.
Oh, right. Oh, I do have something I can do that. Yeah. I can probably put that in a glass jar and just put it in there and eat it as a sorbet. So I don't have an ice cube tray. All right.
Real quick, Suzanne, how long can I store this in the fridge?
That's the thing we were just saying. As a smoothie, you're not going to be able to store it. You're going to have to put it either in an ice cube tray and then use the ice cubes, or maybe in a jar like Stacy said and put it in the freezer and then eat it like a sorbet. Smoothies generally don't keep.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Or like you can buy something to make like popsicles, you know, like I've got stuff, I bought something from the store, you can make a popsicle, you know, pour them in and then you have your own popsicle.
That's a good idea too.
Great idea. And you can always cut the recipe in half if you think it's too much for one person. There's always that option as well.
Right.
Well, thanks so much, Sue, for sharing. And oh, that is so good. I'm going to have to make that for me tomorrow morning. I had 2 smoothies today, so I think I'm had enough smoothie for this day.
Right. And you know, I'll say, even though the juice of a whole lemon went in here, it's not sour.
No.
The ingredients have blended well to that you just don't get a sour taste.
Yeah, it's very
Is it
true.
good, Is it good, Emily?
Is
Yeah.
it good? Yeah. Oh, Emily made
Mine
it.
is so thick I almost have to eat it with a spoon, but it's tasty. And I
Oh,
subbed
good.
pineapple. It's just what I already had in the freezer, and it turned out great. Really sweet.
Well, it sounds good.
Yummy.
Awesome. And that's a nice thing about this recipe. You can swap out, like she did the pineapple, you could do mango. If you only had frozen something else, you can pretty much swap out any of the foods or the six.
Right, and it did, like it says in the recipe too, you can add greens to it. Spinach, kales, whatever you wanted to add in there. Hemp, chia seeds, nuts, anything. Smoothies are pretty versatile to what you like. But my recommendation is don't get yourself in a rut, because I've gotten myself in a rut before and go a whole year and only have them, with orange juice, or only have them with this. So I've learned that when I empty something out, then I switch to another thing so that your body can get different nutrients, different antioxidants. Go from your berries to your citruses and to your melons. And I'm not a big fan of melons, but I do it anyway, just so that I can get a wide variety.
Yeah. And that variety is also good when you're talking about the greens too, because switch from spinach to kale to some mixed greens, not always do the same greens every time as well.
Right? Even in proteins, and if you have proteins in, change your proteins. If you put hemp seed in, then the next time do chia. If you put chia, then whatever it is that you like, nuts, you can throw nuts in as your protein, raw organic nuts. Just switch it up. It's the best.
Make your whole breakfast right there.
Right.
So, well, thank you so much, Sue, for sharing this great recipe. I hope you guys all try this one and share it with your family. We're going to switch now to our last recipe, which is our Austrian garlic soup. Now, I was a little hesitant about this recipe, honestly, when I first heard it. I was like, I don't know. I like garlic, but I'm not sure if I want a garlic soup. But I had it at someone's home when everybody brought different soups. And I was like, what soup was it? That was so good. And I walked home with the recipe, and then I've kind of changed it some since then. But this is really surprisingly very good. You have to think about it not so much as like garlic soup as like think about how you like garlic bread, and like that warm, that flavorful taste. That's how you have to kind of think of this soup recipe. And it's really because the garlic is cooked at a lower temperature. It takes a lot of that bite out of it that the raw garlic would be overpowering. Okay. So speaking about garlic for a moment, because that's the main immune boosting ingredient in this recipe. Garlic is like one of the most amazing foods when it comes to immune health. It is anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antiparasitic. Basically, there is no pharmaceutical drug on the market that is that broad spectrum, okay? Because we know that antibiotics are great for bacteria, but they don't do anything for viruses, okay? But garlic can hit both. So this one thing, if you're feeling kind of coming down sick with something, or you're just not feeling well, and you're not even sure really what it is you're dealing with, take garlic, because it will probably hit whatever it is you're dealing with. It's just an amazing thing. And it is like nature's antibiotic. So this recipe has a lot of garlic in it. It has about 1 bulb. Some recipes say between 10 and 12 cloves, which is about usually what 1 bulb is, unless your bulb is really big. Now, right here in my bowl, turn that down so you can see. This is how many cloves were in a bulb this size. It was about 12. Now, some of these cloves are like really small. So I'm not going to count that as a full clove because it's like half size. So when you take the little ones and you add them up with the bigger ones, you come out to about 12 or so. And what I did to save time, and what I encouraged you to do, was to go ahead and cut, peel, and dice. Now this is how much garlic I got from this 1 bulb. Now this bulb was a little bit large, so I'm not quite sure I'm going to put that entire amount of garlic in there because, well, that's a lot of garlic. But here's a cool thing about garlic that you may not know. When garlic is in this state, it doesn't have that pungent smell that this garlic right here, like my whole kitchen smells like garlic right now because of this crushed garlic. But when it's in the whole state, it has these certain compounds, sulfur compounds. They're called, get the name here, allicin. Allicin is the sulfur compound that happens, it's an enzyme reaction that takes place when the garlic bulbs are crushed. And that's when you get all the great nutrient benefits of the garlic, is when that enzyme reaction happens. And so it's best, they say, that if you cut the garlic, crush the garlic, and let it sit for about 15 minutes before you eat it, then you're going to get all the best benefits of those of that allicin compound. So now, one thing though is that if you cook the garlic and it gets above 117 degrees, some of those compounds are going to be lost just in the heating process, which is why raw garlic is so much more strong than cooked garlic, because some of those compounds have gone. But you're still going to get a lot of the benefit of the garlic, even if it's cooked. Now, if you want something that has more raw garlic where you're getting all the benefit, you're gonna have to come to next month's class where we go through that nature's flu shot drink, because you're gonna get the raw garlic in there, and it's really a good recipe, so don't be thrown off by that. But for this recipe, we're cooking the garlic. So we're gonna start first by making the croutons that are gonna go in the garlic, in the soup. This recipe doesn't take very long. So I'm going to angle my board down here. I've got some just French bread. You can do artisan bread. This is what I just happen to have in the house. So I just took 2 slices here, and I'm going to cut this into cubes. Now, if you are gluten-free, you could do a gluten-free bread instead. And my bread is like completely falling apart. But you're just cutting it into like crouton size. Pieces. And this is going to go on your soup as like a garnish. Now this soup is a European soup. It comes from Germany, although there are Italian versions of it. Austria, it's very popular. I was reading a lot of different like travel blogs where people were talking about how they went to Europe and got this soup at a restaurant, and we're just like, wow, that is so heartwarming and just tastes so awesome. So come here. So I'm just going to use a little bit of olive oil here in my skillet. Just drizzle a little bit of olive oil over these croutons, or what will become my croutons. We're just going to be like browning these here in the skillet till they get a little bit browned. So while that's happening, let me just tell you a little bit more about this soup. So I tried to figure out how you actually pronounce the name of this German soup. It is, and if you're German speaking, please forgive me. Knoblauchcremesuppe is how I understand the pronunciation is, which basically stands for cream of garlic soup. So has anybody ever traveled to Europe and actually had this soup before? Just curious if we have any world travel.
Well, I had it on a ski trip one time, and boy, everyone we were sharing the suite with said, don't have that again tonight, because I filled up the room with just the smell of garlic by breathing. It was excellent.
That's the thing about garlic, is it can like sometimes keep people away. So you make this and the whole family eats it, and then you're just all happy together. But the amazing thing is that if you're I made this soup not that long ago. I started coming down sick, and my husband and I both. And I was like, okay, this is what we're having for dinner. And wow, it just was very warming and nutritious. And I just felt like we just had given our immune system this amazing boost, which is really what you want to do when you're starting to feel ill. So those croutons are going to be cooking for a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is get the next parts of our recipe out here. So the other ingredients is some flour. You're going to be kind of using a roux, making a roux. And you could use a gluten-free flour if that's what you have, if you're gluten-free. And then you want a unsweetened milk. So I just have some unsweetened almond milk here I'm going to use. And then a non-dairy butter. And there's so many different kinds out there. This is just one I have right now. It's a plant butter with olive oil. So that's what I'm going to be using. And then the next ingredient is your vegetable broth. And I just have an organic vegetable broth. I've got a question for those of you who are more food experts out there. Does anybody know what's the difference between a vegetable broth and vegetable stock? I don't. Okay. I see both at the grocery store, and I was looking, I was like, the ingredients are the same. I don't know if it's how dark it is or the thickness. I'm kind of curious about that, but I do not have an answer for that.
Maybe if you bought both, opened them up, poured them in, you could see, and they might be the same, and it might be just the name.
Probably pretty interchangeable.
I think one might have, the stock might have the chunks of vegetables still in it and not just the strained out portion. Just a question.
That'd be a good point.
I don't know. I don't think they would probably sell it that way. But... Okay, so over here you can see my croutons are getting nice and golden, and that's just how I want them. They're just going to come out here in just another second. And then I'm going to put my garlic right into the same skillet. We're just going to do it all here in the same pan. Now, when it comes to the garlic, a really important thing is you do not want to cook it at a high temperature. Garlic can burn really fast, and we do not want our garlic to burn. So we are going to turn the temperature down, kind of more to like toward a simmer or low medium heat, and that's what we're going to saute the garlic until it's cooked. Okay, so I'm just going to get a bowl to put these croutons in. And I'm going to go ahead and already turn down my heat because I don't want my garlic to Okay, so I'm going to put in here 3 tablespoons. 3 tablespoons? Yeah, 3 tablespoons of my non-dairy butter.
I found the difference between the two.
Okay.
So it says the major difference between broth and stock is that broth is made from the meat and vegetables, but stock is made with bones. But when it comes to a vegetable stock, a plant-based vegetable stock versus vegetable broth, there's no difference. So there's no difference in a vegetable broth and vegetable stock.
Glad you looked it up.
It's just
Yeah.
the label, huh?
But you know what? I would check because broth and stuff. I would check to see if there was, if it was made with meat bones or, chicken bones or something like that. But it should be the same thing. Just for the record.
Okay, so
That's good to know because you're not second guessing yourself then.
Right, exactly. All right, so we've got over here, my garlic is now in my sauce, in my skillet here, in with my melted butter. And it's simmering a lot, but I have turned the heat down. I don't want it to get brown. I just want it to cook. So you want to keep stirring that pretty regularly. It's going to take maybe 3 to 5 minutes, possibly, to make sure the garlic is well cooked. And this is going to take a lot of that, that heat, hot taste of the garlic out. And once your garlic has softened, you're going to then add the flour. It's going to kind of make a little bit of a roux, and then we'll be adding the broth to it. So I'm going to go ahead and get my broth ready for when it's time. And then we also have a milk that's going in here too. Let's see, I've got 1.5 cups of the let's see, where did my measuring cup go? 3/4 cup. So you want to make sure your garlic is cooked enough that it's not raw anymore, but you don't want it to turn dark, okay? So you're just cooking it at a very low temperature. And I think this looks pretty good. I don't know if you can see that a little bit there. I think that is looking about right. So I'm going to, I don't normally cook on this little convection hot plate. So I'm not as familiar with this as like it was on my stove. Okay, now I'm going to add the flour. And mix that in. And there is another version of this recipe. If you're like, I just don't know if I could do the whole garlic thing, all that garlic, try the Italian version of this recipe. Some of you might be actually doing that tonight. It has potatoes and onions also in it, or leeks. And it's a little bit more like a potato soup, but it has a lot of garlic still in it. And that might be something that you feel more comfortable trying rather than jumping straight into this one. Okay, so now we're going to add our liquids. So I've got 1.5 cups. I'm going to start with 3/4 cup of the vegetable broth, and I'm going to grab a whisk here. And just kind of whisk that in a little bit. It's going to be thickening up as I go because of the flour, as the flour starts to cook. And then I'll add in my other 3/4 cup. So I have 1.5 cups of the broth. Now, if you're making like your own vegetable broth at home, you might need to add a little bit more salt or something in it. This one probably already has some sodium added to it. So if you're making kind of your own from your own vegetable scraps, which I have done before, you might need to add some more salt to this recipe. Okay, this is looking really good. Okay, now I'm going to add my milk. And I've got, now the recipes like you'll find online are using like a like cream, but we're doing plant-based here. So we're just going to use almond milk, and you don't want this to boil because plant-based milks can sometimes curdle a little bit if they boil, but we're cooking this at a lower temperature, so we shouldn't have any trouble with that. So I'm now adding in my almond milk. I'm just gonna kind of move it over here so you can see it a little bit. You see how it's starting to look like a really great creamy soup? So all I'm gonna do is just let this go for a little bit. It's gonna thicken up a little bit more. It looks so good and it smells amazing. Does anybody else making this soup right now? And can tell me how it smells? Kathy is making it. It
Smells great. I just opened some windows because my roommate's gonna kill me.
And my husband, if he could smell garlic, he goes, yeah.
It's all in the name of health. Okay, so once that thickens, we're going to be adding our parsley to it. So I'm just going to grab just a little bit of Italian parsley here and just chop that up. This recipe is always served with parsley and croutons. And it doesn't make a whole lot. Like I would say right there, we have enough for maybe 2 soup bowls. So that's not like, not a whole lot. It could be just served kind of like an appetizer, you know, like if you were doing a soup and a salad and then maybe an entree. Because in that case, it may not seem so strange to your family to say, we're eating garlic soup for dinner. You know, like it's just one part of dinner, but this is the interesting part of the dinner.
So Stacy, do you also chop up the stems of your parsley as well, or just the leaves?
Just the leaves. I did use the leaves. I like to use the stems and other things, but for the soup, I think I'm just gonna use the leaves here. Okay, so I'm gonna call that done. Just put it off, turn this off, and then I'm gonna platter this up so you can see this.
I am making this stuff tomorrow.
Oh, awesome. That's a fun way to do it. Just watch. Okay, so I have my soup here. Hopefully you can see my bowl. You see my bowl? So I'm gonna put my parsley in here, and then I need to grab my spoon. Where did my spoon go?
Well, I didn't make it tonight because I thought I'd have a little bit more administrative duties. So
Totally understand. And then we're putting roasted croutons in here. Okay. Can you guys see that? I wish you could smell it. It really smells really good. Okay, I'm gonna sample it. Sorry you can't do this. Have you all share it?
Okay, that's a feature that Zoom is going to have to work on.
Yeah.
It's really good.
That looks really good, Stacy.
Garlic just a little bit longer. Because to me, it tastes just slightly like it just could have cooked a little longer. But on this hot plate, it's hard for me to tell until you get the temperature just right. Like on my stove, I can do it easier.
So, Stacy, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I made it and I was I added the milk before I added vegetable broth.
Yeah.
Is that thickening? Should I just let it simmer a little bit longer?
Like it's a little too thin.
Yeah.
You could simmer it a little bit longer, but just keep it lower temperature. Otherwise, it will curdle probably too much. Just keep simmer it low. You could thicken it with a little bit of cornstarch and water if you needed to, if you wanted just to finish it up faster. Maybe my proportions might be off a little bit, or maybe I should cut down on the amount of, or add a little bit more flour. Maybe a 1/3 cup of flour would have been better.
Okay.
The first time I made it, this time it seemed like it was maybe slightly thinner, but I think that might be just, you might just have to adjust that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, good point.
And I did try gluten-free flour for a change just because I bought it. I thought I'd try it. So that might have made a difference too.
Possibly, yeah. I don't know how, I don't cook gluten-free very often, so it might make a difference. I don't know if anyone on here is gluten-free, you might know the answer to that, but.
It's a totally different flour mixture.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. It said it's equal parts, but okay. I just thought I'd try it.
I think it's the gluten that actually does the thickening part. Yeah.
Okay, that makes total sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
You could probably try arrowroot. That would thicken it up, or a little bit of cornstarch would also thicken it up.
Yeah. You just want to make sure you mix it with a little bit of water before you
first, yeah.
Otherwise,
okay.
Stacy, you've done more cooking with arrowroot. My experience with it is some things turn out a little slimy.
It's more
really, I don't use arrowroot.
Ear texture.
Cornstarch is better in soups, I think, than arrowroot does. And I like to get the non-GMO cornstarch that they have there at Meijer. That's a nice one. I'll show you what it looks like.
Oh, the Rumford.
Oh, no, that's not it. Well, oh, there it is. This is the one I get. The non-GMO Clabber Girl cornstarch at Meijer. Yeah, it works good.
Rumford is another one too that's non-GMO.
So I saw that Carol said that it was good, so she made it too. She says it's delicious. Awesome. There you go. So try it, and like I said, this particular recipe I made just now had more garlic in it than the last time I made it. Last time I think I just used 10 or 12 cloves. This time I used a whole bulb, and it was a big bulb. So this one had probably 16 cloves in it. I don't know. It had a lot. Okay. So you can adjust how much garlic you put in it, and it will make it maybe not so strong. Okay. Well, yeah, go ahead.
I use this flour 1-to-1. It's gluten-free. And when you quit cooking, I turned mine off. Well, it was watery, but I turned it back on and continued cooking, and it's thickening up quite nicely.
Okay, good. And that was a gluten-free flour too?
Yes, it's called 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour.
Good to know. Well, then there's a variety then that you can do with this, which makes it more versatile for different people depending on what your dietary needs are. Awesome. Well, I am so excited about all that. Yeah, go ahead. Someone else. I don't know.
Yeah, this is Magali. You don't see my photo, but you see my name is Magali. Yes. Just like you see it spelled, just like that. And I live in Whitmore Lake. Okay. I wonder about the recipes because I see the attachments you sent, but I don't see the recipes.
You didn't see the attachments, or you did?
Yeah, I saw the attachments. Are the recipes supposed to be there?
They are. I'll make sure I send it to you again. I don't know what might have happened, but I'll make sure I send those to you again. maybe there was something happening.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Well, is there
No,
any
that's okay.
other questions or comments anybody has about anything we've made tonight? Or if you did make it, anybody want to tell us what you thought of it or what you're excited about what we learned this evening?
I'm looking forward to another class. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Well, like I said, our next one is in March, and I don't know yet what the theme is going to be. So we're going to come up with something good. I'm not sure yet what it's going to be, but if you got any suggestions for something that you'd be interested in, let us know, because we're open to doing something that would meet you guys' needs. And then, of course, we have our next class is well, the next time we're going to be getting together is in 2 weeks, which is our Bible and Your Health class. And for those of you who may have jumped in after I talked about that, just show my screen here one more time. This is just a little meetup on the 4th Thursday of the month. It's just going to be short, informal. It's a time for us to kind of get to know each other better, support each other on our journeys. It's not going to be a presentation as much as it is going to be some fellowship and looking at a health principle from the Bible and discussing that and just finding encouragement with some other people who are interested in health and in God. So you're welcome to come and join us. You don't even have to RSVP, just show up. I'll make sure I include this in an email that we send out to you this week, so that you'll have that. It's also the same meeting ID that we use for the Health Connection meetups, which is the other months that we do. So our next Health Connection meetup that's coming up is in March, and no, not March, February. And that's going to be February 11, and it is on home remedies for immune health. So this is going to be a really important one. I really want to have each of you come back for this, because I was not able to share a lot about some of the immune boosting properties, some of the foods or some of the vitamins. Like, there's some amazing research coming out right now about vitamin D, especially in relationship to surviving COVID. So you want to learn some of these things. If you get sick in your family or someone you know starts to come down sick, these are things that could potentially save a life, okay? So we're going to be talking about a lot of natural things that you can do, things that we do in our own homes when we get sick, things that I have just personally tested myself or family members that I have done. So it's going to be a little bit more scientific, but practical too, and some things that we do in our own homes. So plan on coming to join us for this next event, which is February 11 at 7 o'clock. Just send me a text, send me an email right now saying, hey, put me down. I want to go ahead and register for that. Again, it's free, and we'll have some really good resources for you at that class as well. So I'm so glad you came and joined us tonight. I hope you had a really fun time and learned a lot, and we'll be able to go home and take some of these things and share them with your family. And if you start to come down sick, start eating your garlic soup. Start drinking your citrus smoothie. You start to get that little twinge of like, oh, I just feel a little off. Hit it hard. And these things can really make a difference in helping you feel better really soon. So I'm so glad you were here tonight. I really hope that we see you again at one of our another upcoming events. And any last questions before we have a prayer to kind of end here?
Thank you so much. It was really, I really enjoyed it.
Oh, good, Nancy. I'm so glad you are here. I really want to get to know you all better. And I know that here when we're doing presentations and we're going through so much material, it's hard to like get time to really talk. So that's why I'm really looking forward to these this Health in the Bible meetups, because it's going to be way more informal. We get to know each other. I feel like we really need to build relationships with people who are health-minded and not these days. And I think that Zoom is a great way to do that in a time when we may not be able to all get together in person. And although some of you I know tonight got together and had a big party at your house. So I kind of feel a little jealous. Like I wanted to have a good group here too. But I'm glad you were able to do that. I hope you had a really good time with your family and friends that you were gathered with. And is that group still on here? Michelle and her gang over the Otises, are they still on? I don't know if they're still on.
Yeah,
Yep.
Lori Beth.
Okay.
You could train.
I hope they had a great time and you all did. And yeah, meet us in 2 weeks so we can get to know you better and start building some friendships. We're all pretty much here in Livingston County, although we have a couple people from out of state, but most of us live here locally. And it's a great way to kind of get to meet friends and make some new friends. So with that, I want to have a prayer just to ask God to bless each of you. Dear God, I want to thank you so much for just a wonderful time tonight with some new friends and some friends I've known for a while. And just to be able to talk about food and cooking and health and you. And those are some of the most important things, Lord, in our lives right now. Friendships, family, health, and you. And Lord, we just pray that you would watch over each of us, keep us safe, keep us healthy, give us wisdom to know how to take good care of our bodies so that we can keep our bodies in the best health condition possible. Watch over each one here and take care of them until we're able to meet again. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you for joining me tonight. Have a wonderful evening, the rest of your evening. And yes, we will see each other again soon. Okay? You promise you'll come back? Good.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Nice to meet you, ladies.
Bye.